Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the third episode of Desi's DUO-LOGUE. My name is Desi, and this is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Today's episode is about baby boomers and the impact of technology on the baby boomer group of people. Now I'm in that group. I say I got a notification the other day, not specifically because I'm a baby boomer, because I'm subscribed to something, and they were talking about the impact of technology, and if you're over 60 and you're accessing National Health Services or doctors in any way, then there's a big shake-up coming. So that piqued my interest because I just started using this facility in society. So I thought, okay, what are they talking about here then? And they were talking about booking appointments and how appointments are going to be allocated and how you're going to be able to see your doctor in the future. I'm not an expert on this. I have to be honest because I booked a few appointments and it wasn't easy because I was trying to do it two ways. I think I was trying to book on the old way, and you've got to ring at 8 in the morning, and they were saying, "Well, ring tomorrow because there's no appointments today." And I'm thinking, "Okay, no appointments today. What's happened then?" And they sold out of appointments basically. So although they're not selling them, they're just giving them. But you've got to ring tomorrow because we haven't got any today. So foolishly, I rang at the same time, 10 o'clock, because I thought that's tomorrow. And they said, no, you got to ring earlier. You got to ring at 8. So the only time you can book an appointment is 8 in the morning. Is that what you're saying? I'm not arguing with you.
Was the answer.
Was the answer. So I said, well, I'm not arguing. I'm just asking. But honestly, the receptionists there were a little bit, I don't know what's up, maybe they're frustrated or whatever, same as me. But anyway, as it was, I called back the following day at 8 o'clock, and hey presto, I was fifth in the queue and quite quickly received it. However, this is all changing allegedly, and there are ways that you can. I know because I've signed up, and I've signed up for both the NHS in South West Herts, which is the hospital, signed up there because they're doing results and stuff, and I can access them from there because that's where they do the tests. But I can also access it through my doctor's practice, where I can register I can register myself, and then I can apply for I can have an appointment. I can do a phone appointment. I can request prescriptions. I can do all sorts of like things that you need to do locally in your local doctor's practice. But those two things aren't the same. They can be
So what you're talking here is these two different apps or websites where you can put your details and they give you a password and you log in and you do things in there. This is what we're talking here, like registering in different websites. Okay.
Yeah. So one's for South West Herts, and that's the hospital, if you like, and the hospital's area. And then the other one is for your local practices. So there's lots of those. And then there's the one of the hospital, because that's the only one that exists. So you log in there, and my CAT scan and my echogram and my test results are all placed in there. And of course, when the request has come from the local doctor's surgery, they then forward them on so that the doctors have got them, so they can then call me in and discuss with me the results of the tests, etc., etc. So I understand it all works. It all kind of works. But what you're going to have is two logins, and you're going to have some kind of transition between the two. And I think this is an area where confusion is going to set in, because I'm used to this stuff and I know what I'm doing. But I can imagine someone who's like 70 saying, in my confused state with my high blood pressure, I would have gone, "Oh, what's going on here? What why have I got two logins? What was right? So it's not a simple thing. And you've noticed, the technology integration is wanting a little bit, and I'm sure they'll get there. And of course, for the younger generation, all of this doctor stuff and prescriptions online and getting barcodes and everything, it's all a piece of cake. And to be honest, I don't struggle with it either. But I know that people are going to struggle with it, and there's a great business opportunity there for people to help people with because I don't think to help people with doctors' practices, because there is a lot of, I don't know how many people are registered there, but it's a large number, and a large number of those people are old, and it's the people that are accessing those people are accessing the services way more often. And just now I've gone along there to the doctors 2025. Last time I was there on my record, 2010. Last time I was there.
Lots of changes since you last went.
Yeah,
And
and
so it will be the older generation who are not used to logging in. They're not even used to typing in the computer, depending, some people might be in this age group which have, like you, Chris, all their life they spent working on a keyboard, with a keyboard behind a computer screen, programming or any other things like designers, and I don't know whatever your job was. If it involves computers, it's going to be not too difficult to transition into this new way. But imagine your job was gardener. All your life, you've been working with clients who you provide a service of looking after their garden, and you have never been behind the computer unless it's really, really necessary. Maybe you don't even own a computer, and maybe you don't even have a smartphone. This will be a huge shock to the system. I know of people who don't have a smartphone because they don't trust it. They think it's spying on them or something. That they don't know what they're doing with it, so they don't want to do something wrong. And it's because of this lack of experience and lack of understanding of what's going on behind the smartphone screen and how it works, that will cause a lot of stress into that generation of people who will eventually need to be having
I
some
know
help
how
in
my
logging.
mum used to work. Like you talking about a gardener. My mum had a garden, and she used to get religiously. Used to say, "When you go to the bank, can you take my card with you, and can you get me out like 50 quid, because I've got to give the gardener 20, and I've got to give the other guy 10, or like there was always allocations of money which needed to be done, and this is how they accounted for it. This is how they knew these people got paid, and the money for
Hmm.
the gardener was on the side there. And when the gardener came round, he used to do the gardening and everything else, and he expected to be paid in cash.
Yeah, so we're talking about the older generation, who are those people who haven't been associated in their work life with a computer technology.
Kids and young adults, doesn't matter whether you're a gardener or what you are, you've grown up with Facebook and all these other things, and you'll be au fait with it all, and you'll be au fait with getting paid into your bank account, and everything
Yeah.
else. Like in our day, it was a big thing to get a payment into your account. My daughter, she says, "Oh, can you pick up some cat litter at the thing, and I'll transfer you the money." Like £2.50 transfer it to my bank account. It's
Yeah.
like it's nothing. It's the simplest thing to do. It's easier than reaching into your pocket and getting 250 and giving it to me. So that's a simpler transaction. Of course, that's a mindset change between people who are 60 and people who are 40. That's the mindset difference. And kids have grown up with it. It's been in their environment. So, and even my daughter, like it was in its infancy, if you like, the social media side when she was growing up. But nevertheless, they just swam into it because it was easy. It was just more convenient, and they just accepted it and
Hmm.
adopted it instantly. But over 60 is a different issue. My mum did use an iPad and stuff like that, but it was hard work. It was hard. It was nothing was easy, and she found it very difficult. It was nice when it worked, but then it so often didn't work for some reason or other. you know, Whatever, the
It's
battery
not
was
that it
flat.
didn't work, but she managed to do something with it that it was not what she
Yeah, or
expected it to do.
Exactly. So, and then she was surprised, and then it doesn't work. But even now, if you're in your early 60s, right, we've got a huge change going on right now. And if you look back in history, in the year 2000, right, in the year 2000, when we went to the new millennium, we got in 1993, we got the World Wide Web. That came about in 1993. So that thing then grew, and it went. You can imagine when people first discovered this is a way of putting information on the internet. It went ballistic. It went ballistic. Everybody wanted a bit of it. If you were a web developer in those days, although they were rubbish and the tools were rubbish, it was like everybody had to have a website. No one could find it, but everybody had to have one because there's no search engine. So how did you find it? Well, you had to give someone the address. Well, how did you give them the address? Well, you met them. You might as well tell them what you're doing, mightn't you?
Yeah, but it was the beginning, so
It
it
was the beginning.
eventually grew.
And the World Wide Web in 1993 was a new development. And we had the internet before that, but no one could find it. No one could use it because it was unusable. But the World Wide Web made it, HTTP, made it usable. And then in 2000, we got to the point where 7 years of everybody rushing around doing loads of things. Loads of people starting up companies and attracting billions in terms of investments, and they still hadn't worked out how to make any money. so, so in 2000, the whole thing collapsed. The whole thing collapsed because everyone realised that they just invested all this money in these companies and they weren't making any money. And so it all died a death. But then after that, Google came up with two tools really, which were pay-per-click and pay-per-view. That those two things monetized the internet entirely. So people clicked on things, and you clicked on an advert, and you could get paid for doing that. So the internet suddenly realised, God, if I can get a website and I can get people to go and visit and click on things, then I can make money. I can monetize it, and that's great. And all of Google's growth really came through that. And Facebook started doing it, and the rest is history. But 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 that was the beginnings of it and why it became successful. But now what we've got, and this is the interesting point. So that was the beginning. That was how from in 2004, 1% of that Christmas, 1% of the money spent was spent, or less than 1% was spent on the internet, and now it's 65, 70% is spent on the internet.
The shopping.
Shopping, yeah. So basically, it was shopping. It was shopping and information availability. That was what the internet was used for. That was the growth, and that's what fueled everything. Right up, and search engines are part of that. How do you get found, and all this, and there's loads of industries attached to it. But now we're in a situation where it's money moving to the internet through cryptocurrencies, contracts. So you imagine buying a house, you do a contract, instead of waiting days and weeks for all the contracts to come through, you can sign a contract online and everybody signs it and everything, and the job's done. And the contract's in place, and it's all recorded on the blockchain. It's sacrosanct, you can't change it, it's there, everyone can see it that needs to see it, and it's done. And irreversible, and it's totally true. So if you want to prove that you've got that house, it's all on the blockchain. You can say, there it is, that's when I bought it, that's what it is, and everything that's related to it, the boundaries, everything is on the blockchain. And that's all going to be historically entered onto the blockchain. So you've got money going on there, contracts, legal, all the legal stuff's contracts going to be on there. Everything that's basically a contract, and that's where you bought and sold something, is going to be, and that's everything, is going to be on the internet. And the next thing, of course, is robotics and jobs. These are the next things, the next evolution of the internet. Now, we haven't even really got to grips with the last thing. People are just working out how to use email still. and the older generation, that's still like the 60s and 70s and 80s, still haven't got used to email. Can you imagine jobs, contracts, and money being on the internet, and how safe that needs to be before it can be really dished out to the public, that's got to be right. And it's not that the old people are demanding it. It's not that the young people are demanding it. It's because the cost of it being affected is negligible. It's exactly the same as what I said when I started to write software for the internet back in 2000, which is it's not going to be the customer that demands that software be delivered through the internet. It's going to be the companies that recognise that to write and replicate stuff on the internet and to support it and to make sure it's working and to issue new releases is going to be far better delivered through a mechanism where you can just upload it and download it and install a new one from Timbuktu rather than have to go and visit the customer. It can all be done there and then and instantly. You can upgrade 1,000 customers overnight. Yeah, so rather than send out 1,000 CDs and the cost of that and the packaging, now you just issue it overnight and it's gone. It's done. It's all done. And of course that's what was driving it. That's what made it happen. Not the customer saying, "I want to be able to buy this through the internet." No, that didn't matter. And the customer just had to take what he was given.
Well, the customer in this case has to learn new things. So it's actually this change in technology forces people to have to learn new skills.
Of course it does. There are still banks in the high street. Why? Because people want to walk in. Well, who wants to do that? Who wants to walk into a bank anymore? Well, the people that used to walk into the banks got used to walking into banks, and they want to be able to walk into a bank even now. There's a legacy setup that has to be catered for before you can migrate entirely to a new system or a new idea. And consequently, this is the latency. This is why it takes ages, because most young people say, why don't we just get rid of money? Why don't we just get rid of money? We don't need it anymore. Why don't we just get rid of banks? Why have we got banks? Why have we got? Who wants to go? Like, we don't even need shops. We don't need banks. The high street's banking facilities are being shut down. So what does someone do if they want money? No, there's plenty of ATMs there. Well, there's not plenty because they're closing them as well because they want to get rid of money. So, how are they going to be able to get cash? Well, you don't need cash because you've got a card. Yeah, but what if I don't want to use that? What happens if I want to give my granddaughter like 10 quid? Well, I don't know why you want to give her 10 quid. You can't spend it. She's got no to spend 10 quid. You've got to send it to a bank account. Oh, what about pocket money? There's no money and they don't have pockets. The internet went ballistic from 2000 onwards, right? The growth rate for things like cryptocurrency, robotics, and AI far exceeds the way the speed at which the internet grew, and that was the fastest thing we ever knew. That was the fastest growth, and now we've got sectors like 3 here, the smart contracts, like money and AI, which are exceeding even the internet and how that expanded. Although we started off with baby boomers and with what's happening in doctor surgery, that's really on the ground stuff. But what's happening with doctor surgeries is also happening with legal cases, also happening with money.
Yeah, so technology impacting the older generation. Unfortunately, the older generation will have to learn new skills, and that's the
Well,
way. That's the way it will be.
they're either going to have to do that, or they're going to have to,
Or they find a neighbor who they can trust.
or they co-op their kids. So if they've got kids, they can co-op their kids. I remember helping my dad set up videos and all sorts of stuff because too many cables. You didn't, what cable goes into where. There seems to be huge amounts of cables. Now it's a bit simpler in terms of you can always go on AI and ask it, "Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" And it can
Yeah,
help
for
you.
a younger person, yeah, but I'm thinking the older gardener.
Yeah. Anyway,
They will need the help of their children or a neighbor they can trust. Right. Thank you for watching. Please do remember to subscribe. Tell us what you think about this technology thing and how it's impacting you. Maybe you're one of those people who are affected by this and
yeah,
how are you managing it?
maybe you're a
Would
young
like to, yeah.
person who's unaware how it's going to change for your parents or your baby boomer parents, or maybe they're fine, but if they're a bit older, maybe they're going to need some help. And do well to get involved yourself.
Yeah, thank you for watching. So that was episode 3 of our duologue. Bye.
Bye.